Joseph Shones was driving alone through the Plumas National Forest in his Volkswagen, initially looking for back roads in the secluded area. Most of his time was spent trying to navigate his way back home, but due to the severe weather conditions, his journey resulted in his car becoming stuck, somewhere around 5:30 p.m. With very few options left, he exited his vehicle, hoping that he could somehow push it unstuck. Shones began to push the back of his car. However, performing this action led Shones into enduring a heart attack, being one of the worst possible outcomes of the situation. He returns to his vehicle, enduring the pain alone in the forest, unsure of what to do next. After a while of waiting, a sight ahead of him emerges. Two pairs of headlights emerge from the opposite direction of him, with the silhouettes of what resembled a woman, a baby, and a man walking towards him while conversating between each other. Seeing this as his opportunity to get some help, Shones exits his vehicle and pleads for help. Although, after doing so, the lights ahead darken, as well as the conversations were abruptly silenced. After a couple hours, another sight would stow up on him. A pair of darting flashlights were seen in the far distance. Once again, Shones calls out for help, desperately trying to be noticed. However, his attempts remained unsuccessful. After another couple hours pass, his car runs out of fuel, having been running the entire time since he got stuck. Fortunately, he had recovered enough to exit his vehicle and begin a venture into the dark towards a lodge about 8 miles ahead, where he could finally get some well-needed help. On his walk up the road, he'd spotted a car, an empty 1969 Mercury Montego with the windows rolled down. Considering the fact that he'd seen a number of people in the last few hours, he didn't give it much thought and moved on towards his destination. As Shones arrived at the lodge, he was able to get medical treatment and the help to get his car unstuck, managing to get home the day after. However, during that trek up the road, where he passed that Mercury Montego, he had unknowingly passed a car belonging to 5 men that would soon become a part of one of the strangest unresolved cases in history. Jack Madruga went to pick up his group of friends in Yuba City, Oroville, California for a Chico State basketball game. A night out with friends, a night out meant for good times and memories. The close group of friends consisted of 24-year-old Jack Hewitt, 29-year-old Bill Sterling, 30-year-old Jack Madruga, 32-year-old Ted Wire, and 25-year-old Gary Matthias. These men were commonly referred as the Boys. The Boys were part of a basketball team called the Gateway Gators, part of an extracurricular program. The boys were to participate in a week-long tournament sponsored by the Special Olympics the day after, on the 25th of February. They decided that they wanted to hang out and cheer on their favorite basketball team, UC Davis, against Chico State the night before the tournament. Jack Madruga was the proud owner of his 1969 Mercury Montego, much seen as the most responsible of the group, although slow in thought. Madruga's parents said that he found it difficult to maintain a job at the local fruit company as a dishwasher. Bill Sterling was a kind, passionate, and deeply religious man, thought to be Madruga's best friend. He spent a majority of his free time reading to console patients in mental hospitals. Ted Wire was the oldest of the boys, a cheerful and passionate friend among the group, being the closest with Jack Hewitt. However, Ted was known to lack common sense. His family recalls Ted staying in bed while the house was catching fire because he didn't want to miss any sleep for his job the next day. Ted worked briefly as a janitor and a snack bar clerk, though told by his family to quit since they believed he was causing problems. Jack Hewitt, a close friend of Wire, although a cheerful member of the group, he frequently needed assistance in performing simple tasks. Gary Matthias was the newest addition and the most unusual member of the group. Matthias did not have an intellectual disability, though he was dealing with severe mental health issues. He was most notably diagnosed with schizophrenia, being the reason for his discharge in the army. And so, they began their trip, roughly an hour of driving before they would arrive in Chico. At 10 p.m., UC Davis picks up the win against Chico State, the score ending 83-78. It's a thrilling night for the boys, and they don't hesitate to treat themselves to some celebratory snacking. They make a quick stop at a local gas station by the name of Burr's, stocking up on pies, candy bars, a couple Pepsis, and a quart of milk. It was quite late already, and the clerk running the shop was trying to close before the boys arrived, being mildly frustrated at their presence. After their stop, they re-enter the vehicle, ready to drive back home to get some sleep for the next day. But they didn't. During the drive back home, down Highway 99 and Highway 70, they took a left turn before arriving in Oroville, going onto the Oroville-Quincy Highway East, a highway that goes up to the Plumas National Forest. They continued driving after the road ended, going up a dirt trail until their car got stuck. At some point after getting stuck, they exited the vehicle to venture into the night. With the boys away from home past the late hours of the night, the mothers of Ted Wire and Bill Sterling contacted the authorities, since it was very unusual for the boys to be away from home for a prolonged period of time, all at once. The boys were officially missing. A turquoise Mercury Montego is spotted by an unpaved road near Elk's Retreat, roughly 3 hours away from Chico, being unlocked with the windows rolled down and candy wrappers scattered on the seats. There was still gas left in the tank, and the car wasn't stuck when found, nor had any critical damage. The Yuba County PD would collect the evidence and send out the search teams across the region. Though, searching through the current state of the weather and the mountainous terrain would prove to be almost impossible and put the members of the search in danger. These circumstances led the police to call off the search until the snow had melted away. With frustrated families, the boys were forced to be left in the wilderness, alone. A few months pass. A group of bikers roll up to an abandoned service trailer at the Daniel Sink camp. Coming from the main trailer was a piercing, sickening odor that was clearly recognized. The bikers, filled with curiosity, enter. At the end of the trailer was a bed with covers stacked upon each other. They removed the covers, discovering the body of Ted Wire. When discovered, he was much lighter, 80 pounds lighter precisely, with an overgrown beard and his feet badly frostbitten. It's assumed that Ted Wire had stayed at the trailer for a couple of months before his passing. His cause of death, a combination of starvation and exposure to the elements. Though, while staying at the trailer, Wire had access to both heat sources and food supplies, enough for the whole group to last through the prolonged time. No attempt was made to cover up the broken window either. The scene? Mind-boggling, to say the least. Though, it was enough for the police to jump back onto the case. Search teams swept through the new search area, southeast of Bucks Lake. It only took a day for the search team to find a pair of corpses. The bodies of Bill Sterling and Jack Madruga were discovered, about 5 miles from the trailer where Ted Wire was discovered. Madruga's corpse had been partially eaten by animals, while Sterling's remains were scattered around the area. Their cause of death, likely due to the exposure of the elements and fatigue. A couple of days after, Jack Hewitt's father finds clothing items belonging to him scattered around the area about 2 miles from the trailer before finding Hewitt's body. Upon the discovery of Hewitt, it's noted that flashlights and blankets were spotted by the road, leading to the belief that Jack Hewitt and Gary Mathias had stayed with Ted Wire at the service trailer since a pair of tennis shoes belonging to Matthias was initially found at the trailer. The time that they spent together is undetermined, though both Hewitt and Matthias are believed to have left the trailer after Wyatt's passing, setting out to the forest to get away from the body, in doing so, leading them to their death by Mother Nature. That is what is assumed, though the body of Gary Matthias has never been found, leaving the case without a final conclusion and questions surrounding a motive behind the incident. What really happened along the way? Why didn't they just go home? Why did they continue up the road into the forest? Many questions surround this case about what really went down that night and the anomalies. Upon further inspection, Gary Matthias seems to be a bigger piece of the puzzle than people originally thought. Gary Matthias had friends in a town called Forbestown. Looking at the route taken by the boys, it makes slightly more sense of how they would have managed to get where they ended up, Forbestown just being north of Boroville. Let's say they agreed upon the idea of visiting Matthias' friends in Forbestown. Madruga turned onto the Oroville-Quincy Highway, driving up until he would miss the turn onto Forbestown Road, which is very likely due to the time being near midnight and the harsh weather conditions. Instead of going back, Madruga kept driving, in hope of potentially finding another turnoff before becoming stuck. But why did they not attempt to get it unstuck? With the 5 of them being decently built men, moving a car wouldn't be of much difficulty. And again, upon the discovery of the car, it wasn't stuck. It would have been very much possible and reasonable to get the car unstuck and then turn back, though they didn't. Considering the circumstances of that night, the possibility of foul play was not completely out of the picture. Most interestingly, upon discovery, Madruga's car was in supreme condition, despite the rugged terrain, weather conditions, and the fact that there were 5 big men in a low-sitting vehicle. Despite all these conditions, there was no notable damage done to the undercarriage. Notably, Madruga had also never driven on this path before, which leads many to speculate about who was actually driving that night. It would have taken a miracle for Madruga to be able to navigate the road through these conditions without damaging the car. Going back to the scene, the car was discovered with the windows rolled down, which was unusual for Madruga to do, according to his mother. The only people in the group of friends who possessed a driver's license were Jack Madruga and Gary Matthias. Was Madruga really driving that night, or did Matthias take over the wheel? Due to Gary Matthias' character and history, this wouldn't have been completely impossible. Gary Matthias had many run-ins with the law the years prior, though had been taking his prescribed medication for his schizophrenia around the time of the disappearance. According to multiple sources, he had been straightened out before the time of the incident, further disproving the possibility of Matthias' involvement in the disappearance. It's often theorized that Gary Matthias might have murdered the other 4 men, though a strong enough motive and evidence are not sufficient enough to form a concrete conclusion. Meanwhile, there are other theories that can outweigh this one. Joseph Shones. In his testimony, he stated that in his recollection, he witnessed the silhouettes of a woman, a baby, and a man walking towards him. Assuming that his recollection is correct, this begs the question of the identities of the group involved. Assuming that also the other party was within a distance of hearing Shones pleading, it's very strange for the headlights ahead to shut off, as well as the conversations to silence immediately. This is if his recollection was correct. Since his original testimony, his story had been altered slightly each time he shared it, which weakens the story altogether. Shones admitted to having been very ill during the witnessing of both parties, raising the possibility that the sightings were just a figment of his imagination. Raising the possibility. Assuming. What if? We don't know. The true details of what really happened, of what Shones really witnessed that night, unless someone comes forward, will never be revealed, and are still up for debate. Though, some theories hold more weight than others. Let's rewind, connect the dots, and speculate. They hit up Burr's for some snacks before heading back home to Warville on Highway 99. Gary Matthias, having remembered that he had some friends up in Forbestown, suggested the boys to go pay them a visit. The boys agree, though Madruga seems unconfident in navigating through the weather conditions and the unfamiliar road. He pulls over and left Matthias behind the wheel. They turned onto the Oroville-Quincy Highway. Matthias missed on the turn onto Forbes Line Road, likely due to the darkness and the snow surrounding the road. Instead of turning back, they continue up the road to take an alternate turn off to Forbestown, which they then miss as well. They reach the end of the dirt road and get stuck. It was mentioned that the path had been cleared a day before. Instead of turning back, they wait for help to arrive, which never did. Since Madruga wasn't at the wheel, Matthias had rolled down the windows or let the other boys do so, presumably out of boredom. Eventually, the boys exit the vehicle. Instead of getting the car unstuck, they venture into the wilderness, likely following Matthias since he was a bit aware of the area. It's entirely possible that the boys simply didn't think of moving the car, taking account of their intellectual disabilities. Due to the different locations of the bodies, it's possible that the group could have split up, possibly due to a disagreement between Madruga and Matthias, or maybe just losing track of the others. If that were to be true, it's likely that Jack Madruga and Bill Sterling had split from the group, leaving Matthias with Hewitt and Ted to reach the campsite after a couple of days. After Ted's passing, Matthias and Hewitt were to have either gone to get some help or abandoned the corpse. Personally, I think that Matthias might have tried navigating up the road to Quincy to get some help, possibly miscalculating the sheer distance from the camp. Now, if that theory were to be true, he would have likely perished near Bucks Lake Road, in the Meadow Valley region, wildlife getting to his remains before the search teams could. But hey, that's just my theory. The case is still up to debate, and the reason for the disappearance is still uncertain. Whatever happened that night, whatever led them to their fate, whatever happened to Gary Matthias, will always remain a mystery.